Hi, Helen here. We're going to be playing with Kuretake clean colours and the beautiful Lavinia stamps. I'm just going to recap as to how to use these pens and get the best out of them so that when you get them at home you can really take full advantage of how brilliant they are to use and the quality of them. Getting old, glasses on. Right, when you blend pens together, any type of pens from any brand, it's normally very difficult to do if you're using two very extreme colours, like for example we're using here the really dark navy blue and the yellow. That's unheard of. You wouldn't normally be able to do that, but with these you can. This just shows how easy it is to create a brilliant card or scrapbook or mixed media without having to have so many colours. You will want all the colours, and there are new ones available which haven't been heard of before in the UK, so keep watching and we'll show you those sets again. So if you pop a little bit of blue, by the way I'm working on the Lavinia watercolour card. People always ask me, you know, you're blending, it's great, how can I do that at home? It's all about the tools, and if you're using good quality card you will get the desired effects. You can use these on absolutely anything. However, if you want really good effects, use the right kind of card. So this is the deep blue. It's one of the darkest colours apart from black that they do. And I can take a little bit of colour and I can blend with the yellow. Don't get frightened. It's still going to come out yellow at the end. And the brush is going to get clean as well. So creating a whole new range of colours there. With the two pens, you just wipe your yellow one and it goes back to being clean. It always does, no problems whatsoever. I love the fact that I can also use it with water. So if I'm doing something that I don't want it to be so strong, I want it to be a little bit muted, a little bit more pastel, I can use water instead. So a very small amount of ink we use, which is why these pens last such a long time. And you can see that blends out gorgeous. If I want to create this colour, which I did before, I can still do it with water. I can pop it onto a matte or a shiny surface and I can blend it, pre-blend it with my water brush, and I can colour and create a whole new colour. So you can imagine, even if you only had say 50 of these colours, you could probably end up with 300, 400 different colours. It's probably infinite, to be honest. Never counted it. One of the other things I love to do with clean colour is use it with the Wink of Stella, which will then make every one of these colours become a sparkle pen, but only if you want it. You've got that choice, which is a great thing to have. Again, just a small amount of that colour on the card, and then using the Wink of Stella, which is a sparkly ink, it's a pigment based ink, and I can just blend that out like so. Again, I'm just going to wipe it on a bit of tissue. Goes back to the original cleanliness that it is. And I'm going to show this a little bit closer so you can see that sparkle. It takes a few minutes to dry. When it does dry, it becomes even more sparkly. Here's one I did before, but this one's perfectly dry, and I'm hoping that you can catch it on the light there in the camera and you can see that sparkle. Absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to colour this image. Absolutely love these houses. They are so cute and it's crying out for lots of colour on there. I'm going to be using one of the new sets. This is set B, and you can see the colours are green and blues and every shade in between. It's one of the new ones that hasn't been around in the UK until Lavinia brought them in. So if you've had other colours in the past but you want some of these new ones, then there's no duplicates. So if you've had it in the past, a 90 set or an 80 set, you will not have had these colours. So don't be worried about having duplicates. There are 3 in total. Let me just show you those actually. This one is set B. This one is all the blues and the greens. You have set C, which is the reds, the oranges, the yellows. It's got some browns in there, and I have nicked a few of these out. So this is set A, and this is your muted tones. This had all those gorgeous mulberries and pinks in there, which we did for this image here. But there are so many different colours in there, you'll absolutely have a while of a time. But I'm going to stick to set B. And I'm going to use all these turquoises and aquas because I think they're gorgeous. Now, when I'm colouring, I tend to start with the dark and I drag it up to create the light. So I'm going to start at the bottom of this house, and I'm just doing a couple of panels at a time because I really want to see the definition between these panels. Start with the darker colour, Helen. There we go. Let's put the pens in order, makes the life a lot easier. So I'll put the dark on, then I'll go in with the slightly lighter one, and then I'm going to the lightest colour, and that's just going to blend that up. The nice thing is about clean colour, you don't have to worry too much if you're not perfect first time, because you can go back in and you can carry on blending to get the bit that you'd like. So let's just do a couple of these panels at a time. Blend these colours up. Love these colours. I'm going to do a bit more and I'll bring you back. So I've coloured a little bit more of this image. Obviously didn't want to keep you waiting while I coloured that in. We're going to add some more colour now. One of the things you do get in the bigger sets of the clean colour is the blender pen, and this is just a clear ink. So if you don't want to water it down with water, if you don't want to make it sparkly with the Wink of Stella, but you want to keep the colour but blend it out, the blender's the man for the job. Let's do this door. So I'm just going to add a little bit of colour around the top of this door. And then I'm going to use that blender. And I'm picking up the dark colour, as you can see, and it's just going to blend all the way down. So it's not losing any of that lovely colour, it's just making it lighter and lighter and lighter. So it's so easy to get that effect just with any of the colours. I'll hold it a lot closer for you so you can see it. So any of the colours with the blender pen, and you'll keep that nice strong colour. Again, the blender pen, just wipe it on a bit of tissue, goes back to being clean again. Let's tackle these bricks. I'm thinking blender pen again with a bit of the red. So we'll add the red around, and then we'll use the blender pen to drag it in around that lovely hobbit door. Obviously the bricks don't have to be red. This is fairyland, they can be anything you wish. Wipe on a bit of tissue. The stones, I think I'm going to use grey brown and grey tint, and I'm just going to put the colour on one side of the stone, and then I'm going to blend it in with the grey tint. And in fact I want it to go paler, so I'm going to go back to the blender and I'm going to get rid of the red that I left on there. Rookie mistake. Blend those stones in there. I'll do the same over here. Try and keep the dark to one side. Blend it in a little bit with the lighter one. And then we'll use that blender to get that nice depth. Make the steps slightly darker so that we get some nice perspective. I am going to go back. I missed a few of those bricks, so I'm going to go back. Blender again. Just blend that in. I think the stones around the door will make those a bit of a contrast to the red. So that sticks out. Oh, red again. Make sure you clean your blender before you go back in with another colour. There we go. Another thing I'd like to talk about is the embossing pens from Kuretake. Now these are a clear ink, however it comes out blue so you can see where you're writing or adding detail, and then it goes clear. You can add embossing powder of any make to these, and you can add some great detail to your cards. You can write with it. There are so many different ends on them that you'll get the font that you want. One of the great things for me is being precise with them. So when I'm using an ink pad, great for my stamps, but if I want to add, say, auntie, sister, second birthday to my cards, I can't do that with an ink pad if I haven't got the stamp to go with it. But with these you can write on whatever you want. So they come in a pack of 4, and there are, I think there's only one repeat on the nibs. Let's have a look, let's go through them. So this one is the fine and chisel. So the chisel end is chiselled. So let's just see how that one works. The fine end, great for really, really small detail. Let's add some powder to this so you can see exactly what they look like. We will heat it up in a bit, so it will go shiny. Then this one is the calligraphy. So these are very square edged, so these are, I'm not the best calligrapher, but you'll get the idea. And this one's a lot smaller. Let's just add some powder to that. This one is the writer. So this one has like a bulbous end, which is really lovely for writing, and it's got the smaller end as well, which is the fine. Add some powder to that. And then there's my favourite. Now this one is the scroll and brush. So the scroll has a flat edge with a little notch taken out of it. So when you write, if you hold it at the right angle, you get a large part and a small part. You'll see what I mean when I add some powder in a second. And the brush end. So the brush end is one of my favourites. I love the way that I can add a really nice font using the brush. And if you wanted to pick out a small amount of detail to a stamp and didn't want to use your ink pad all over the stamp, you can just use the brush and just highlight, you know, the odd little word or the odd little section that you wanted, making it a lot easier than obviously with a big fat juicy ink pad. Let's put the powder away. I know what I'm like for knocking it over. And I'll just heat this up just so you can see all of these lovely fonts. Embossing powder never ceases to bring me joy. I love watching it change. There we go, it's started to go already. Hopefully you're going to be able to see all these different fonts by the time this is warmed up. Nearly there. Those particles need to heat to a certain degree to be able to melt and give us that lovely raised permanent effect. And there we are. So let's show you those different fonts. Get it in the right light, that's probably about the best. So I like to use it just to add words to what I'm making, like those ones. This card that we made earlier, I'd like to add some detail to the house, so I'm going to use, let's use the bullet tip, or maybe the fine, just to make sure we don't go over the lines. And we can just add where we would like to have that embossing powder. So it's nice and controlled. Don't worry if it picks up a little bit of ink, you can just wipe the end of the embossing pen and it'll just go back to being clean again. Let's add some, what's this one? Metallic copper sparkle, that sounds good. Because I made this card a few hours ago, the ink will be nice and dry. Make sure that the ink is dry, because otherwise the powder will try and stick to that as well and you'll end up with a little bit of a mess. Let's heat this up, and if I have missed any parts I can always go back. Try not to use, if I've missed any parts now, I'm not going back in with the pen, because the powders will stick to the pen. So heat it first, let it cool down slightly, and then go back in there again and just add the little bits if you've missed any. There we are. I will add a little bit more in the middle bits that I've missed, but we get to have that embossing powder exactly where we want it.